Hello. Good morning, everybody in streaming world. Thank you for joining us. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, or TMI for short, where we bring you way too much information, like a lot of TMI. Sometimes it's like personal TMI.
That's true.
And also stuff like news and politics, lifestyle, culture. Today we're going to do culture. I think it's a hot topic right now. What your kids are up to, my kids are up to, what they're not doing, the occult, anything and everything goes, because we believe you can never have too much information. So if you are looking for that straight-laced, button-down news program, this show is not for you. I'll warn you now. We do allow cursing, so F-bombs do fly. So please be forewarned if the volume is up, you're at work. Make sure you turn that down because we don't want to get you in trouble. It's all the stuff here on the show that we know that you already want to hear about, you want to hear about, but then some other random stuff that you're like, oh, wow, I'm glad Ted and Manila brought that to my attention. And of course, we're going to laugh along the way because, I don't know, Ted, I feel like we've kind of you and I have kind of given up on the world. And like, if you don't laugh, like right? Like if you don't laugh, you're just going to end up crying. So I prefer laugh. I'd rather laugh. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow this show. If you are watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to these magic numbers of viewership and subscriptions on YouTube so we can become monetized and we can actually, grow this program and actually start making this financially viable. If you are watching us on Rumble, would greatly appreciate it if you were able to help us out in any way, either by smashing that like button to help grow the show. You can repost the show. And if you're in the financial position in the chat, hit that subscribe button just below the chat and become a $5 monthly subscriber to help us out if you enjoy what you're seeing here. So the Ted Manila Information Show is about to start. And today's topic is going to be Vivek Ramaswamy, American culture of, the cool guy, the jock, versus the meek who shall inherit the earth. That is the STEM nerds, Ted. That's what I say. I believe it's biblical. It's written. It's written, Ted.
It is written.
The prophecy. It is written. That's what we're going to talk about.
Prophecies don't always come true, though. Yeah.
Well, I think this one, as we emerge into the 21st century and realize everything is STEM, everything is engineering, everything is online, I think that prophecy shall become true. The meek shall inherit the earth, not the football jock. Just saying. All right, let's get into
Jaws away.
Got anything else? Yeah, let's Jaws it.
I just want to mention that it's been 5 weeks since I broke my wrist. Time
let
flies.
me see.
Time flies.
Put your arm up.
Time flies.
It's been God.
But
yeah, I was out for like 2 weeks, so
But I'm going to. But Monday is my big follow-up visit, and if they're gonna Xerox, they're gonna X-ray, and
they're gonna Xerox your arm.
They're gonna xylophone my arm.
Healthcare test.
And then they're going to see if everything's cool. And I think I'll be able to not wear my brace and be done with it. Maybe. It feels like it's been going well.
Wait, why aren't you wearing it now then?
Oh, because I'm disobedient. The doctor says to wear the brace all the time, but I've done a lot of, I'm a researcher. I did a lot of research, and basically two things.
Hard to type with that thing.
It's or draw. Okay.
That's true.
Well, and not to mention, they say, if you do wear the brace all the time, your muscles will atrophy, and then you're going to need 6 months to a year of physical therapy. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm a cartoonist. I'm not going to. Right. I mean, and I'm not the best artist to begin with. The last thing I need is atrophied muscles. So, so I'm just like. And basically, when you read between the lines, the only real reason they have you wear the brace is in case you're a moron and you bang it against something or something like that. It's like, really so I wear it at night like in case I roll over myself or something, and I wear it if I go out, sort of like if I were to bump into something. It's New York City, but I don't wear it like, around the house. It's like, there's no point. What's going to happen? Clovis is going to
okay,
attack
look,
me? I
no,
mean, nothing.
I'll tell you, having had hairline fractures in my right wrist from when I was like 17 or 18 years old from a kickboxing injury.
Wow.
And because I was, besides being a little bit of a nerd, I was also athletic at one point. So I had hairline fractures in my wrists in a couple spots. And same thing, I had to wear that same kind of brace with the metal bar that went right here. But my car at the time, and mind you, this is sunny Southern California, my car at the time was stick shift. I don't even know if they sell stick shift cars anymore. And
they do, but they used to be cheaper, and now they're more expensive. It's like an option, and like you can get a few models are still available as a stick shift, but you have to pay more. So for people who want them,
that's so weird.
Isn't that strange? It used to be also when you rented a car.
It used to be cheap.
It used to be like the cheap option, and the automatic would be like 3 times more. That's not true anymore.
Yes.
Now it's all the same.
Wow.
Or actually, even like when you go to France, it's like you're going to get an automatic, transmission car.
Wow.
Probably.
I remember back in the day in Europe, like that if you rented a car, it was stick shift. It was just
the big challenge for me was driving in Myanmar and in England, where it's on the left, and the stick is on the left.
I know.
Right? So that's weird. That's
weird. That's very weird. Well, so what happened for me was, again, just like you, I started feeling better, and I noticed that because it's California, wearing that brace was giving me this weird tan line. You can't have that. No, I mean, that's not cool.
No, not at all.
That's not cool. It's not cute. Culture,
no.
That is not cute. And I used to like driving with the sunroof open for obvious reasons. It's sunny Southern California. And it was giving me the weird tan line, and also at school. And I noticed my arm was getting weirdly skinny, and I already have skinny arms. So I was like, I don't want to look all weird. So I used to take it off because I was like, I can move it. It's fine. I'm 17, 18 years old. Totally fine. I'm healing great. Yeah. Because, you're invincible.
I sense that a terrifying story is about to unfold.
So, Ted, don't be me. Don't be a dumb Manila. Don't be a dumb jock. Because of all those reasons that you have aforementioned, even in my late 20s, I now have pain in my arms or my wrists when it's cold. So it's basically like I creted arthritis.
Problem solved. Climate change. That's never going to happen again.
Oh, that's true. We're talking over 20 plus years ago. So maybe that's the problem. But I live with constant pain when it gets cold. It's tiny. It's just stiff and awful in my wrist, and I'm right-handed.
Yeah, I was told that's going to happen whether you wear the brace or not.
Really?
Yeah, apparently that's just like how it goes. Yeah.
Well, okay then. I said fuck off to the doctor, and I'm okay.
Osteoarthritis is in the mail. It's in the mail no matter what.
Well, just warning you that it sucks. So I don't want you to end up.
Anything to do with you not wearing the brace. I think that just has. Well,
that's what the doctor said to me. 26 years ago. Yeah. They said that's what I caused myself. Is I'm going to suffer from that for the rest of my life because it didn't heal exactly right. So anyway.
Yeah.
So Ted, I don't know. Maybe don't do that. Just saying. All right, let's get to the headlines.
Azerbaijan has opened a criminal investigation after that passenger jet crashed in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people on board. At least 29, however, survived, although all sustained injuries. Analysts suggest that a missile from Russia's air defense system, which recently shot down Ukrainian drones in the same region of Chechnya, probably struck the aircraft. However, the president of Azerbaijan is urging us not to speculate until the investigation is finished. Azerbaijan Airlines Embraer 190 was traveling from Baku, that's the capital of Azerbaijan, to Grozny, which is the capital of the Chechen Republic of Russia, on Wednesday when it reversed course. The aircraft then traveled over the Caspian Sea. It had attempted to land in Aktau, Kazakhstan. In its final moments, the plane made a steep descent before crashing upside down in a fireball. Surviving passengers reportedly heard an explosion and witnessed shrapnel hitting the fuselage. So
Hmm.
it's hard to say what happened there, but that is entirely possible. There certainly have been a bunch of incidents. Russia probably was, well, it wasn't Russia. It was Russian-aligned separatists in eastern Ukraine in 2014 who probably shot down that Malaysian flight. Man, Malaysia was not having a lot of luck at that time, right? With planes, they had that one plane go MIA, and there was even a conspiracy theory that it had been hijacked to Kazakhstan. If you ever watched that Netflix movie, that claimed that. However, we know it went down in the Indian Ocean. And anyway, so yeah, it's entirely likely that something like that happened. That the Russians were trying to shoot down Ukrainian drones that were attacking Chechnya, and then this surface-to-air missile, basically it's a heat-seeking thing, and I mean it's horrible. Of course, you can only imagine. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
So I had read reports that the airspace in that region where it supposedly was shot by anti-aircraft missiles or whatever, that supposedly the airspace was closed, like nobody should be flying there, right?
Really?
And that
how could the Azeri flight be there?
So the Azeri flight should not have been trying to go, like they had recently closed it, and the pilot was somehow either not informed or disobeyed and kept trying to land twice, tried to land in Grozny and
was denied permission. Yeah.
Right. And that supposedly that is how it was shot, with something and forced to divert. So I don't know.
I can't believe I forgot this story too, right? Don't forget. I mean, you were not even alive, I think, but in the early to mid 1980s,
of course I was alive.
Korean Airlines.
I was a Jimmy Carter baby.
Okay, that's true. All right. Well, so Korean Airlines Flight 007 that's an amazing story that was shot down by the Soviet Union over eastern Russia, over not far from Vladivostok. So what happened there? It's kind of amazing, right? The flight wandered over Russian territory near some restricted military information. Well, I'm getting to that point, right? And then the Soviets repeatedly warned it to land, right? A MiG was dispatched. The pilot dipped his wings, signaling them to follow them to land. They didn't, and then after repeated warnings, the Soviets shot them down. Well, so it turned out I think this was a Seymour Hersh story, if my memory serves. They got the details. Turned out the CIA had contracted with Korean Airlines to affix spy cameras to the bottom of a passenger jet. And the deal was, you're going to pretend like you accidentally veered off course in order to get photos, high-resolution photos of these Soviet military installations. And, because you're in a civilian plane, the Soviets won't shoot you down.
Right.
And so the thing is, and that almost worked. The Soviet pilot who was sent out to do it, to shoot it down, he refused. And he said, I can see women and children. This is a passenger flight. I see them looking out the window, because he's that close. And they're like, you have your orders. You're going to be court-martialed if you don't do this. And he was like, I want to, so he kept running out the clock, hoping that they would either leave Soviet airspace. But anyway, in the end, they were like, you have to do this, comrade, or else. And they interviewed him.
It's them or you.
He was completely wrecked from having to do this. I mean, this is the CIA's fault, right? I mean, obviously, and Korean Airlines.
Well, there's Malcolm Gladwell talks about this in Outliers, especially with the Korean Airlines, not this particular topic that you're talking about, but in general with why Korean Airlines had such a terrible back then in the 80s, had a terrible safety record. And it had to do with culture. Did you read that book?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that book. That was like
He
paradigm
also talked
changing for
about
me.
that was the same issue that led to the crash of the Avianca flight also in
Yeah.
the mid 1980s in Long Island. Basically, Avianca is what? Which country's carrier? I forget.
Do they still exist? I forget too.
It's South American. I know that.
I don't remember.
Anyway, the point is that, like in both cases, right? Like with KAL, because there's such hierarchical cultures.
It's a culture. It's
That
an Asian
basically
culture thing.
there needed to be. So the problem was that they didn't have the balls. The pilots didn't have the balls
Right.
to say
The
no
co-pilot.
to air traffic control. Yeah, co-pilots couldn't argue with
The
pilots.
co-pilot would argue with the senior pilot, the left
And the
left
Avianca
pilot.
And the Avianca pilot couldn't argue with ATC when ATC said, JFK said, you don't have permission to land.
Right.
We're backed up. We have weather. You have to circle. And he was running low on fuel. Instead of saying like, fuck you, I'm coming in now. Clear in the runway. I'm coming in hot because I've got no fuel left. He's like, okay, I guess that sucks to be me.
Right.
I mean, they ran out of fuel. They literally.
I'm not saying that has.
Fuel.
I'm not saying this has anything to do with this Azeri flight, but remember that the Azeris are Asian. They're Central Asian, so there is a little bit of culture at play there.
Well, they're almost Central Asian. They're Caucasian.
I mean,
they're not. They're sort of Central Asian, sort of.
They look more or less like me with slightly different features.
They're Eurasian, yeah.
Yeah, they're Eurasian looking. And so there's a lot of that Eastern culture at play there too. So
and obviously they've had an authoritarian form of government there forever.
So I'm curious to know what notices were put out for the airspace, if it really, when it was shut down, if it was indeed shut down. And this is not absolving the Russians of saying like they could be at fault, right? Like they could
for sure, absolutely.
They could be, but we just don't know.
I mean, obviously, it's it's not. I will say this: it certainly was not on purpose. Azerbaijan and Russia have excellent relations, so that's
right. So it's not malicious, is the point.
Right. It could be an accident for sure. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
South Korea's parliament voted today to impeach the new acting president, Han Duck-soo. This comes less than a month after parliament voted to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol for imposing martial law. The two impeachments illustrate the seriousness of the political crisis in one of Asia's key democracies. Han has been
I almost snorted laugh.
Yeah, me too. Like democracy. Han has been cited as refusing to
look at this democracy. They're going to start hitting each other and throwing shoes soon.
Well, it's like Taiwan. They would actually be punching each other. Han has been cited as refusing to appoint 3 justices to fill vacancies on the Constitutional Court, which will rule on Yoon's impeachment. Han says he didn't appoint them because that's his prerogative as president and not as acting. Oh, the prerogative of the president, but not his prerogative because he's the acting president. The deputy PM and finance minister Choi Sang-mok is now the acting president. The court has 180 days to decide whether to remove or reinstate Yoon. Well, they're not going to reinstate him, but they say that the impeachment trial is a top priority. Yoon also faces charges of insurrection. So, and South Korea is a hot mess right now. And, obviously it's not, the video is kind of remarkable where they were like shaking around, shaking their fists and yelling and carrying on. And,
this is great.
I mean, Koreans are high-strung people. I don't think that's
the Koreans
all the Koreans I know. I like them, but they are crazy.
I love my Korean friends, but they are the ones like if you're at a bar, they are going to get into the fight.
True.
Of all my Asian of all the different Asian friends I have, if anyone is going to start a fight or not de-escalate, it's going to be my Korean friends.
Yeah, that's how it was with my Korean friends too. Yeah, no question.
Sort of like, dude, chill. But I find this hilarious, Ted, because as we know, South Korea is a puppet state for the U.S.
Very much so. Mm-hmm.
So the fact that the second dude who's acting, and let's underscore acting, because he's underscoring the part. He's like, I'm just acting like the president. I'm not really the president. And then the parliament was like, rah, no, like tear him down. There, I don't know what's going to happen there, but the U.S. is getting very nervous, and you know that China is laughing at all of this.
Oh, and North Korea is laughing.
Oh, North Korea's got it. Oh my God, they're rolling. So yeah. I don't know what to make of what comes next. I don't know what comes next for them? If you're impeaching the real president and then you impeach the fake president, the acting president,
yeah,
who steps in? And
I'm sure the Constitution provides for a line of succession, right? I mean, obviously.
I'm sure, but they're not. They seem like they're not going to be happy with anybody that's temporarily put in.
Well, I mean, there's Clovis may have to step in.
Somebody that would be better. I feel like they would take to Clovis a little bit better than these two dudes.
Clovis
already.
Isn't taking any shit either.
Well,
they'll have them all put in prison.
This is like serious shit. They have like MCATs and shit out on the street because people are. I think the South Korean people are very nervous themselves about what this looks like. And remember, Asian culture is a lot about like face, right? Like you got to save face, and that this makes you look foolish on the world stage.
True.
So this, I think the people as a culture,
they're not going to be pleased about this.
They're not pleased about this. So I don't know what comes next.
They shouldn't be, really. All right, moving back over to the Caucasus. Georgia is preparing to swear in its new president, who has been a vocal critic of the West. This development follows protests in the capital Tbilisi that erupted last month after the government decided to suspend talks to join the EU. This whole thing reminds me as echo of the Maidan uprising in Ukraine in 2014. The country's incumbent president has refused to resign following a disputed election in October. Mikhail Kavalashvili, a former soccer player turned politician. What is with these people in this part of the country, right? Of the world, right? We have Zelensky, the former actor, for whose political party is literally the same name as his old TV show. Anyway.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, The Servant. He's the servant. His show, which you can watch on Netflix, is called Servant of the People.
Yeah.
And he's the servant of the People Party.
That's the name of the party? I never
knew the name of the party, right? I mean, it would be like if Trump was like running the Apprentice Party.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
Yeah. It's very like clown-like. Anyway, Kavalashvili, he is set to be inaugurated on Sunday. He was chosen by the Electoral College, first time in this country, rather than the popular vote, according to Forrester Walker. Yeah, what could go wrong? Reporter over there. The incumbent President Salome Zurabishvili, it's a law that your name has to end with a Vili, was elected by popular vote in 2018 and says the recent elections were stolen. Tensions are rising as two potential presidents claim legitimacy. Never seen that before. A significant portion of the nation is demanding new elections because polling has consistently shown strong support for Georgia to join the EU. So that's interesting. And for people who are looking for the hand of Russia in all this, it is true that Georgia is an ally of Russia, but it's not a very close ally. And also,
not this guy though. This guy, look at his pin.
Not. And Georgia, right? And Georgia does not, and also Russia does not care about anyone joining the EU. Putin has consistently said,
that is not
if Ukraine wants to join the EU, that's totally cool, no problem, no muss, no fuss. So
not a thing. Not
there
a
might
thing
actually
at all.
be some advantages to Russia if Ukraine joined the EU, to have the EU, but not NATO next door for trading purposes.
Right.
I mean, really, it could be very advantageous.
Because then you could. I mean, I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. I mean, if had Ukraine said, "I want to join the EU," not NATO, join the EU, having an EU state right next door, and you trade with that state already, that means your stuff gets pilfered in.
No transit fees.
Pilfered right into the EU. Just right in. Like it's just things get picked off and get sent to the rest of the EU. Yeah. That would have probably been really, really good for both states, for Russia and Ukraine, had that happened. But no, you want to join a military alliance. You want to join NATO.
And it's not just a military alliance. It's literally like I mean, I've been reading Philip Short's biography of Vladimir Putin. Really fascinating. And he talks about how Putin always wanted to be friends with the United States and with the West for years and years. When he was mayor of St. Petersburg, he had all the street signs changed to Russian and English because he was
even when he was young.
Yeah, absolutely. He thought that
he was really into Western culture.
Loved it. So he's still, and it's kind of like at one point he reached out to the Clinton administration and said, "I would like we would like to join NATO." And the Clinton people didn't know what to say because it was kind of like, does he know that NATO is basically just against him? It's kind of like it's an anti-Russian military alliance. It's not an anti-Chinese military alliance. It's not an anti-Indian military alliance. It's anti-Russian.
They're like, it's like high school.
He doesn't know that we hate him.
Right. It's like high school where
he thinks we're friends.
The new kid at school is like, hey, we could totally hang out, right? Like innocently, like, bro, totally. I'm having a party at my house. You guys should totally come. Right. And like the mean girls are like, does that bitch even know we hate her? Like, how can we fuck up her party?
That's exactly what it was like.
And that's when he realized, well, from my understanding was when they were meeting in China and Bill Clinton was there. And at the time, I think Vladimir Putin was a prime minister at that point, that when he basically told Bill Clinton to his face after, there was, back channel talks about it. And Bill knew that young Putin was like, hey, let's be homies.
Yeah, like a dog.
Like, hey, let's be friends.
Hey, guys.
And then Bill went over to him and basically verbally pat him on the head and was like, you're so cute, but no.
Exactly.
No, this isn't happening. Nobody.
It's sad that so few Americans know this story, though.
And that Vladimir Putin was literally like a high school kid that was just shocked. That was like, you don't want to be my friend? Like,
yeah, like why not?
Why? Like he just didn't get it, and from there on, it was like, whoa, all right.
Manila,
Americans don't know this story. Americans really don't know the story.
It explains an awful lot.
Yes.
All right, take it away, Manila.
Oh, all right. This one I had to do because I have a lot of criticisms about the New York Times, and as I know you do.
Oh yeah.
So Finnish authorities seized an oil tanker on Thursday on the suspicion that it was involved in cutting that undersea cable going from Finland to Estonia, I believe, and said that the ship that they seized might have been part of Russia's shadow fleet aimed at evading Western sanctions.
Have you ever heard of the shadow fleet before this article? I have not.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because they're kind of the way they reported this when the story caught my attention also because of the photo that came with it of the Finns who are wearing basically they wear outfits that look as fake as like the officer, the Star Wars outfits. They look really fake, and it's like that, and it's like but anyway, and they were just mentioned like,
stage.
Oh yeah, Russia's shadow fleet, blah blah blah, and like what? But
this is new terminology now.
Right. You're making that up.
Like fake news or what did Karine Jean-Pierre come up with? Like misinformation, disinformation, and
malinformation.
No, not the there was one that she totally made up, and people were like, the one about the video about Joe Biden, like it's real but taken out of context. So she made up this brand new word. That's what the Finns are doing here. So in a statement, the police in Finland said the authorities had boarded the Eagle S tanker in Finnish waters. The ship, which is registered in the Cook Islands in the South Pacific, had been sailing from St. Petersburg in Russia to Port Said in Egypt when it got detained. The police said they were investigating whether the vessel was involved in the latest suspected act of sabotage on undersea infrastructure, the cutting on Wednesday of the Estlink 2 submarine cable, which carries electricity between Finland and Estonia. The Finnish authorities said on Thursday that 4 other cables carrying data had also been damaged. The police called the latest cable cuts aggravated vandalism. Now, Finnish authorities said the tanker might be part of Russia's shadow fleet, which emerged as a way to circumvent Western imposed price caps on Russian oil transported by sea. Quote, we assume at this stage that the vessel in question is a member of the shadow fleet, said the Finland's head of customs agency, Sami Rakshit. That's really his name, Rakshit, R-A-K shit, Rakshit, told a news conference without providing Rakshit.
We'll say that.
He said that without providing any details or any evidence. Finland's Prime Minister, Petteri Orpo, said that while there was no direct evidence linking the Eagle S tanker to Russia, the incident underscored the Baltic nations' vulnerability to potential meddling by Moscow. Okay, so can we first just point out all these, like, this is an excerpt from the New York Times article. So the part where it says, you know, that there's no evidence and all that stuff, that is buried like 7 or 8 paragraphs way down, Ted, in that New York Times article, where, because they know that most readers are going to read the headline, the subheadline, and 1 or 2 paragraphs tops, right? Because that's where you're supposed to get the information. So they bury the fact that there is zero evidence, zero even credible logical reasoning, right, as to why they would assume this tanker is related to Russia in a shadow fleet. Nor do they define what a shadow fleet of Russia looks like. Like, who do you have suspicion of other tankers that, you know, in the region that would have destroyed your undersea cables? Like, this is just literally saying, we're going to pick this fucking ship here and we're just going to say they're part of some shadow fleet by the evil Russians because our undersea cable got messed up. And there's been a slew of undersea cable issues. Remember last month, it was like the undersea cable they accused China of doing on behalf of Russia, at the behest of Russia. So everything in Europe is suddenly at the behest of Russia. It can't just be somebody's dragging anchor in the wrong spot and it got cut. It's all malicious and it's always Russia. It could very well be Russia. I could be totally wrong. But at this point, having been a journalist for most of my adult life, the poor reporting coming out of the New York Times is what pisses me off the most, is the fact that they buried the part about no evidence way, way, way down in the article, because obviously they're pushing a narrative that their readers want to know, want to believe, rather, is that everything bad that happens in the world is the fault of the Russians.
True.
It just is.
Well, just is. What gets me also, as someone who's worked in journalism for a long time, is just the faulty reasoning. I mean, come on, when there's no way that, like, if when you were learning to be a reporter, that any decent editor would have run something like this. They would have been like, okay, so what do you know? How do you know it? And did you source this? I mean, this is totally speculation. It's literally like, well, there might be something called a shadow fleet. This would be kind of what it would be. And this is who we think would be involved. And here's who we think is behind it. And it's like, and you know all of this how? I mean, you certainly could report on the Finns making this detention. You could that's totally fine.
Like, this happened.
But they're serving as stenographers of the Finnish government. They should just say, well, Finland says this. And that's what we know, and that's fair. But, like, to say, basically this is so, it's kind of like, also, I don't know that, like, I need to trust what Finland has to say. I don't care about Finland. I mean,
one of the newest members of NATO.
Right.
The second to last newest member.
I mean, and the Finns, there's that. That's a very good point, Manila, right? I mean, these are the new, butt boys of the U.S. And so, I mean,
butt boys.
they are. And so, they're like, you have to contextualize the whole,
Oh my God.
warning, butt boy source here. I love that we can do this. We're not, no FCC rules here. I bet you could say butt boy on the air, on radio. I bet you could. It'd be like butt boys.
Well, I mean, I think you might be right. I remember sitting in the Sputnik studios and having this list front and back, like this 3-column, this 3-column list front and back
of
all the
conservative.
things
there were a lot of things on that list that I used to say on the air on KFI AM Los Angeles. So,
But they said, I don't know, but the rule was those were like FCC flag words. Yeah. And I don't know that butt boy was, I don't remember seeing butt boy.
No.
So I'll give that one to you.
Boy. Yeah.
Thank you. But I'll give that one to you. But yes, Finland and Sweden are the newest members of NATO. Mm-hmm. And now, like, out of nowhere, the Finns have created this new shadow fleet, Ted.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be news to the Russians as well. Just pointing out.
They're
like, hey, good idea.
Yeah, like, hey, now that you mention it. All right. And last but not least, Israel launched its most aggressive attack against Yemen so far against the Iranian-backed Houthis yesterday. The airstrikes hit the rebel-controlled capital, that's Sana'a International Airport, causing damage to the runway and control tower. By the way, also I saw some footage. Apparently they hit the terminal, the passenger terminal too, and the head of at least a very big NGO, I forget. Yeah, that's right. The head of the World Health Organization was almost killed.
Yeah,
he was in the airport waiting to board a flight.
They were getting on their flight.
Yeah,
the WHO people.
So Israel claimed that they were attacking infrastructure used as a conduit for Iranians who back Houthis to smuggle weapons into the country and for entry of senior Iranian officials. I don't know how trying to kill the head of the WHO really plays into that. Maybe they're just the Israelis are militant anti-vaxxers. But anyway, Israel says the attack was in retaliation for missiles being fired from Yemen, which the Houthis say we're not going to stop until Israel gets out of Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu says the Houthis will be taken out even if it takes time. Man, I gotta say, the Israelis, I mean, they're just going further and further afield. Pretty soon, they're going to be bombing Uruguay.
Just bombing everything.
Yeah, bomb this, bomb that, bomb everyone.
But like I haven't heard any U.S. dissent about bombing, these sovereign countries. I feel like there's some international laws there, Ted, that are being skirted. Maybe?
Yeah, like
I don't know all
them.
The laws.
All of them.
I don't know all the laws.
These are, think about it. It's an invasion. It's an act of state terrorism. It's an invasion. And it's like it's an attack. I mean, there's literally no difference between this and like 9/11. Imagine.
Look at the airport.
Imagine
if people just abandoned ship. Look.
Well, yeah, because the fucking terminal got bombed.
It's fucking crazy.
Israelis are fucking insane. So yeah.
Like this, I don't really have much to say about that other than like, I just feel like maybe I'm basing this on supposed, U.S. constitutional rules about bombing countries that we don't even follow our own constitution anymore about, this. But technically, based on our own set of laws that are
and
in
international
the book,
law, more to the point, right? I mean,
there's that too. Technically, you're not supposed to be bombing sovereign states without declaring war.
Right. And then also you are supposed to Israel's a member of the UN. Before they launch any kind of hostilities, as all UN member states are supposed to bring their beef to the attention of the UN Security Council, which in order to say we're pissed off at like Yemen, so we'd like to. So can we please bomb them with your approval?
Right. There's a process for bombing,
which nobody follows. But yes.
Right. But yeah, yes. As producer Robbie says, rules-based international order.
Exactly.
That's supposed to be there. I mean, look at the air traffic control.
Yeah.
I mean, just look right there. It's how do you bomb that out as if Sana'a doesn't already have enough problems, like the Yemenis don't have enough problems with, starvation and cholera.
I kind of have to admit, I like the Houthis style. They were like sort of like, we're going to side with the Palestinians, even though we know that Israelis are going to kick our ass, and so will the West, and the Americans will go after us. We don't fucking care. We're going to bomb these ships that are passing through the Red Sea. We don't fucking care. We're like
you don't have to agree with
Team
them.
Gaza no matter what. And
Right.
We're willing to pay the price. Fuck you. That's why I think the Israelis are nuts if they think like this is going to stop them.
People don't have to agree with the Yemenis or the Houthis, but one thing you can't say is that they aren't principled. The Houthis are sticking to their principles.
Way principled.
Like they will die for their cause.
They don't fucking care.
They really don't fucking care.
But I give a shit. They're in full honey badger mode.
They're totally. And I'll say this last thing before we go to our main topic is there is, I think in Brooklyn, I ate at this Yemeni restaurant. The Yemeni, I'd never had it before, but many years ago, I was covering a story in New York, and and a Yemeni friend took me to this restaurant, and the food, I mean, I love Middle Eastern food in general, but Yemeni food was like the Mexican food of North America. Of all North America, the Mexicans have the best food. It has spice, it's got flavor, the Mexicans have the best.
I'll give you that.
And the Yemenis had, of all the Middle Eastern, and remember, I lived in
Cajun's very good too.
Cajun is very good, but for me, Mexican food, and for the Middle Eastern region, the Yemeni food, I was blown away. Too bad they don't have any food, Ted, right now in Yemen.
Well, that's true.
So that's all. That's all I'm going to say about that. So. Yeah, I guess we are done. We're done with headlines. So here's a moment for a reminder telling you guys to please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us a ton as we try to get to the magic numbers on YouTube where we can become monetized and actually start making a living doing this. So please do hit that subscribe button if you guys are watching on YouTube. If you're on Rumble, you guys know what to do on the .com. In the chat, if you're able, if you're in the financial position to become a $5 monthly subscriber, please help us out that way. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, what we're doing, we are fully independent, and hopefully, when we get monetized, this can, we can grow. Otherwise, just share. Please share the videos, share on social media. That will help us a ton. So with that, I'm gonna hit the jaws.
All right, here's our main topic. DOGE co-chief Vivek Ramaswamy, you might remember him as the very short Indian billionaire who...
No, he's not short.
No, isn't he? I thought he was like a dwarf.
No, really? He's actually much taller than I expected. I think he's like above 5'10".
Really? All right, well, the not so short, average to tall Indian billionaire Vivek Ramaswamy, who ran against Trump, says that, who's now the co-chief of DOGE, says that America generates fewer great engineers than other countries do. Therefore, we have to import them from overseas using those controversial H-1B visas. Now, this is creating a division about immigration within Trump world, which is, of course, mostly anti-immigration and anti-migration. And putting America first and hiring Americans first before we import foreigners. Vivek is going against that narrative. Not only is he opening that division, he's starting a conversation about American pop culture, which he is saying elevates jocks over nerds and thus discourages people from thinking that math and science is cool and therefore they're not going into it. Should we bring in STEM workers from overseas? Even while many of our U.S. citizens are underemployed and unemployed in math and science and computer science. In jock culture, is jock culture the main reason that we don't have enough engineers? And of course, as someone who spent 3 years at the Columbia University School of Engineering and Applied Science as an applied physics and nuclear engineering major. I have thoughts, but anyway.
Yes. So I have thoughts about. I don't know a ton about the H-1B visa issues and processes, but I have dabbled in, not myself working, but I mean I've been exposed to tech and nerd and online gaming culture, and for a very, I don't want to name names, but a major gaming platform is all I'll say. A major gaming platform in Los Angeles. I've seen the inner workings and how they, and this is 10 plus years ago, how they went about seeking engineers for their gaming platform from overseas. And I asked the C-level people why they were doing that, and they said they just couldn't find the right talent for this, for their role, the roles that they had available. And I said, how can that be in America? And they said, we just can't. There's just kind of a dearth of these tech types. And this was 10, 12, 13 years ago in Los Angeles, right? Like you would think, California, Silicon Valley, all that stuff, that you'd be able to poach from up and down the coast. But apparently that wasn't happening. So they were definitely using a lot of this H-1B visa processes to bring in employees. And a lot of people are saying, oh, these tech companies are doing that because the Indian workers work cheaper or whatever. Not from what I saw. No, no.
Yeah, they're cheaper. And it's not just that. It's also
not from what I saw.
It's also because they're not going to bitch about having to work long hours or anything, because they're reliant on their employer for the right to stay in the country. So, if you lose your job and you have an H-1B visa, you have to go back to, back home, right? So,
sure.
So like
there's a lot to talk about.
If that's the case, are you going to bitch and moan? Like when your boss keeps you late? No, you're not. You're going to shut up. You're not going. So bosses love it because they have a compliant slave labor pool. There's
a lot to talk about there. We got to bring in Robbie too. Let's bring in.
What does this off is the fact that there are tons of underemployed and unemployed science people who can't find jobs in this country. The H-1B program, the whole idea of it is, if you have a sector where we can't get enough Americans, then we hire from overseas. But that's not the reality. There's no requirement and there's no enforcement mechanism to make sure that a big company like Apple, for example, or Google has to really, make sure they hire that unemployed 62-year-old, computer scientist who can't get a job in like Indiana and bring him over to Silicon Valley. They don't have to reach out to that person and offer them a job before they go H-1B. That's the problem here.
Well, and of course that's our producer Robbie there. We're calling him the COVID conservative this week. He's got COVID, and he's got opinions.
Who, me?
You got opinions about this, Robbie?
Yeah, that's why you're here.
I do. I do. I really do. And a voice still, at least for now.
Okay. Use it. What are your thoughts on this? Because like I said, for me, I get what Ted was just saying. From what I've witnessed firsthand, having exposure to this gaming company in Los Angeles, Ted, sure, your point about older tech guys, vying for these jobs or whatever. There's a culture fit, like within those companies. If you're a bunch of younger guys, you're going to have a preference for.
Before Musk bought Twitter, do you know this? There were 8,000 employees at Twitter before Musk bought Twitter.
He culled a whole bunch of them.
Do you know how many workers there were over the age of 35? Zero.
At Twitter?
At Twitter. Zero. None.
Zero?
Zero.
35? That's
35.
Really young.
You don't think that's fucked up? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, of course. That's really young, and I think that's foolish but that's old Twitter. That's original Twitter. I don't know about what it looks like now.
Well, this was not that long ago. This was like 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole culture thing, right? Of you, how y'all talking about at the end of the last news piece, why isn't the United States calling Israel for committing war crimes? Well, look at how many congressmen have Israeli flags in their offices. Look at how many congressmen. Look at you, Brian Mash, you piece of crap. You go into Congress wearing an IDF uniform, piss off, drop dead. That's a cultural issue. You want to know why people aren't going into engineering here in the United States? Is because you can't freaking afford it. I mean, look at the price of schooling. Seriously. So, like, for example, let's just say that I'm in my late teens, early 20s, and I want to start going to school. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to take the Ted Rall route. I'm going to be an engineer. So I'm going to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt. Then when I get through, I get to go before a DEI board. Say, oh, I'm sorry, sir. You're a white male. You need not apply because you have the wrong set of jewels between your legs and your skin color is wrong. So you're already sorry. That's not going to work for you. So yeah, I agree. It's a cultural issue. Our education system sucks. Affirmative action doesn't help. And frankly, if you're able to import a permanent serf class that's willing to work 30 to 40% less than everybody else, where's the incentive for the government to fix it? Because the donors profit from what's going on. So yeah, I have some opinions about this.
I mean, I do think the culture thing is not wrong. It's certainly true. Like, we have the whole revenge of the nerds kind of thing. Like, I know what it's like. When I went to engineering school at Columbia, the engineers were dorks. They literally had pocket protectors and Texas Instruments calculators hanging off their belts. There was a disproportionately high number of Asians. And most of the people were really, really boring. It's one of the things I hated about it.
Were they Asian American or like Asian imports?
Mostly Asian American. They were all grinds. I mean, like, this was New York City in 1981 and 82. And, there was a lot going on. I mean, this was still like the age of CBGBs, and where you could go see Blondie for $5 with sawdust on the floor at Peppermint Lounge.
That's so cool.
And Studio 54 was still going strong. But these guys would never, they weren't going out and clubbing or doing anything fun at all. They were just nose to the grindstone, careerists, boring. Sure. And those are the kind of people who go into engineering because that's the culture of it. The other thing I want to point out is when I was a freshman during orientation, the dean, very first speech goes, please look to your left, look to your right, look in front of you, look behind you. You'll see 4 people. 3 out of those 4 people will not be here at graduation. In other words, they had a policy of accepting the most gifted science and math students in the United States and then putting them through a grueling system where they grind them out, expel them, with tons of student loans so that they still have to pay back, even though they don't have a degree. Yeah, basically, yeah. So only
for
one
what?
out of
for like
4.
Bad grades?
Yeah, just for having bad grades. Everything was graded on a curve. So, these were absolutely all. There was no one who got into that school who wasn't absolutely brilliant at math and science. I mean, they didn't accept anyone at the time I went. The perfect score for math SAT was 800 at the time. And there was no one there who had under a 760. Okay, no one. So these are no one there had anything other than straight A's in math and science in high school. And these are all very smart kids, but they're literally like, we're going to let you in. We're going to debt you, as Robbie points out. Then we're going to kick your ass out. And it's like, and if you do graduate, there's not really that much work. I mean, the truth is, STEM jobs don't really pay that well. Employment is very sporadic. And it's very highly specialized, right? So let's say you become a civil engineering major. Well, if you graduate 4 years later and there's really not, there's no infrastructure being built, sucks to be you, but you can't like switch over to mechanical engineering or electrical engineering or nuclear because you don't have that training. So it's a shitty culture in every respect. The truth is, you have to be a fool to become an engineering major. I mean, it's no fun. It doesn't pay well. It's hard as shit. You're treated like shit. Why would anyone do it? The mystery here isn't why we don't have more. The mystery is why we have any.
I have a question for you, Ted.
I don't know about that.
Oh, go ahead, Manila.
Well, to both of your points, like I get the college education part of all of this, but part of the firestorm around Vivek Ramaswamy's statements about this is he's going way back to your teeny bopper years. I mean, he's a millennial. I don't think he might be 40, so he's a little bit younger than me. He might be right around 38, 39, 40. So he had literally made mention about on his tweets about, Steve Urkel versus the Stefan character. If anyone is familiar with family ties, no, not family ties. Well, I'm going way back. Family Matters, right? And TGIF on back in the 90s, it was all these, TV shows that would air that were, meant for family friendly shows. And so he made references to Family Matters and Steve Urkel, and Saved by the Bell, where, you make fun of Screech being the nerd, and everybody wanted to be, we're supposed to love AC Slater and Zach Morris, the troublemaker and the jock. And so he's taking this way back to when in your youth, where American pop culture has actually just penetrated the brains of millennials and the youngest of the Gen Xers like me that grew up watching those shows, and the millennials going forward. And hence why some of the wealthiest people in this country are people like the fucking Kardashians, right? Because why? We venerated Kim Kardashian for doing a blowjob on video 15, 20 years ago, and now she's a multi-billionaire. I mean, not to say that, it doesn't take some brains, right, to build an empire like she has, because there are a gazillion women out there that'll put out a blowjob video for free. But the point is, Vivek's point is that American culture has told us that you want to be the beauty queen. You want to be the popular girl. You want to be the jock. You want to be these things, all of these things that don't fucking matter. I had the great luxury of being, even though I was born in the US, I'd go to school and grow up in American pop culture, English speaking, outside of the house. But when I came home to fobby ass parents and grandparents that were Asian AF, that were instilling in me, get a fucking education. Granted, I'm a failure for not getting the type of education that they preferred, which was like STEM, right? Like some, engineering or medical or whatever. That's not how my brain worked out, and that's fine. They accept that now. They have no choice. But back then, it was drilled into me that you need to think about your future. You need something stable, like do something math, do something science, do something medical, right?
It's not stable. Right? That's my point.
Yeah,
it's not stable.
But how is it not stable? If you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, you can find a job anywhere.
That's not true. No, that's not true. Because you have to think about it this way. Let's just say you've just been admitted. It's now December. You've been admitted. You're 17, 18 years old. You're going to start engineering school next fall, right? You're going to MIT. Well, you have to choose a major pretty quickly. It's not like liberal arts where you can fuck around for like a year and a half before you pick your major. And once you're locked in, you're locked in. So choose your major, right? Whatever it is, electrical engineering, just picking something out of the sky. All right. Well, you're guessing what will the job market and the economy and the political situation look like when you graduate in 2029 or 2030. Now, nobody knows what that is. If you knew what that was, you shouldn't be going to engineering school. You should go work the stock market, right? So nobody knows. So you're just sort of like guessing. Okay, all right, let's hope for the best. And then you come out, and let's just say, by then, President Chelsea Clinton has decided that she's not going to invest in the electrical infrastructure grid, and or technology changes, and whatever. So the training you get is no longer relevant. There's no jobs. And you're like, like you're like just fucked.
But I mean, but Ted, are there jobs for cartoonists? Are there jobs for journalists?
No, there are not. But here's the thing. Most people who go into engineering, frankly, don't have any love for it, okay? They're careerists. They're not like, this is not Pierre and Marie Curie, who like, they have a tremendous passion for discovery. It's just a fucking job. And it's boring, and you're working with boring people. And the other thing, let me go on further. Let's just say you do graduate in 2030 and you do get a job. But in 2035, you can be out of work just like that. So, and you might be out of work for years, maybe forever, maybe for the rest of your life.
Anybody. You can work at Burger King and be out of job. You can work at the local Kroger.
But you don't need a fucking $300 or $400 or $500,000 degree to get a job at Burger King.
See, here's the thing.
Cartoons.
Okay, go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, go ahead.
For example, like how you're talking about how pop culture and stuff. How they have the Steve Urkels and such. Yeah, that's true. But before that, though, you had the cowboys. Being a cowboy, being an independent, rough riding kind of type. What was the ideal? Think about rawhide, for example. Yeah, I'm going to date myself a little bit. Let's just go on back.
Keep them dokies moving.
That's exactly it. And so what was the premise? It was on the cowboy. It wasn't on the people running the telegraph lines. It wasn't on the people actually building the infrastructure in New York City back back in the heyday, that kind of thing. So I kind of that's a cop out on Vivek's part. Culture likes masculinity, and because masculinity has been so demonized in this country, they're kind of going for whatever they want to. The issue is our education system is crap. That first and foremost, that's the biggest problem.
That's true too. I agree with that.
And I think, and this is coming from someone on the right, if someone gets student loans, and I'm going to get Ted's opinion on this, it shouldn't be the student that's saddled with those loans. It should be the university. The university should have to underwrite those loans.
I'm not against that.
That's my take.
Well, I
don't know how that works.
I also don't think it's right that that like if you go to a university that just it's bloodthirsty and decides to expel perfectly qualified students just so that they can have the reputation of being badass and separating the wheat from the chaff. I don't know that like these victim children should be saddled with the debt either. I mean,
no, they can't
afford, the whole assumption of the debt is you graduate from college with the ability to earn a lot more money, so therefore you can pay back the debt. But if that assumption doesn't hold true, then the whole system breaks down. And generally speaking, the whole system is breaking down, right? I mean, that's why people are fewer people want to go to college.
Well, but Thomas, I'm trying to talk about going to college and going into the trades. Go in and learn how to be an electrician, learn how to be a plumber.
Well, I think that's great, and I think that's useful.
I do too.
But I'm saying
agree.
Broadly to Vivek's point, and the flack that Vivek is catching from this is the cultural statement that he's making. And again, like Vivek, he's Asian American. I'm Asian American. All of this shit starts at home. It's a cultural home thing. Are you telling your kids, putting the right values into your kids? And Robbie, I know that you are, because I know you and I know your family. You're putting the right values in your kids. I'm not saying college is for everybody, because it's proven. Like we need electricians, we need plumbers. There are people whose brains work that way. But speaking specifically of these STEM majors and what Vivek is talking about culturally, I don't think that he's wrong in saying that America venerates the wrong fucking thing. We're so worried about being cool.
He is talking out of his ass. He is talking out of his butt.
Kardashian lips and butts, the big Kardashian butts. Like, this is what we tell our kids is good and celebrated, is cosmetic and like superficial bullshit that doesn't matter.
Okay, in Japan and South Korea, they have plunging birth rates because they're telling boys and girls to have sex with robots and to watch pornographic cartoons. So, sorry, that whole cultural argument's not going to freaking work with me. What this is that this is, of course it is.
No, because
culture is
they're
culture.
still, but okay, the idiots that are banging fuck pillows and fuck toys are also they probably have a master's degree in STEM, is my point. They probably have a really good job.
Yeah,
But that's
maybe,
so
but we don't know.
Sticking to what Vivek is saying is that America tells the young people, like, you should aim to be a jock. You should aim to be popular. You should, like, this is what's important. That's not what's important. That's the thing. And like I said, I think I was very fortunate to have fobby ass Asian parents and a family at home. So that way it steered me kind of middle of the road, because while, I was class president and cheerleader at school, at home, I also understood the importance of, like, looking outside of high school, beyond high school, into college, into my adulthood, and to map it out very carefully. And that sometimes you can't go to that party. Sometimes you shouldn't be beer bonging. You shouldn't be doing those things because it's probably not good for you. I did those things, but not in excess. Not in excess, because like I said, I had this nice balance of, like, a strict Asian family to some degree, not as strict as some, but to some degree a strict Asian family. And then I had American pop culture outside of the house. So Vivek's point is that America keeps telling kids that you should aim to be, I don't know, some basketball player, a rapper. You should be like, that's what pop culture tells the children.
Okay, so like with my gaming channel, for example, one of the games I cover is called Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's pretty infamous because they have this trainee character who's always preaching to you about how you got to accept people for who they are, this kind of thing. We have a pop culture that says that you can change your gender like you change your underwear. Most people are smart enough to realize that's not true, and so to your point, yeah, I get it. Asians have a strong work ethic, right there with you. No one else does. Farmers in small towns in Alabama. So if these college recruiters, if they really were wanting to, they could go find really smart people from someplace besides Massachusetts and New York and California who've never had an opportunity because they're out in the middle of nowhere. But they're not going to do it, Manila, because why would you pay someone 30% more to do the job? Why would you do that? Our government hates us. Our government hates you. Our government hates Ted. Our government damn sure hates people who look and sound like me.
Look,
and
you guys are acting like these H-1B visa people are coming in and working for fucking pennies on the dollar. That's not true. They are not the fucking,
they shouldn't be here at all. They should not be here at all.
They're not the farm workers making pennies on the dollar. Look at the screen.
I don't understand why they're here.
Look at the screen. In 2021, the median salary for H-1B workers was $108,000, double the average U.S. salary. That is a fact.
Yes, but that doesn't. But the point is, that's not comparing the median salary for Americans who would hold the same exact job, right?
Well, I'm telling you from what I've seen at this tech company in California.
It's definitely true that they work for less. They are paid
competitive.
Less. They are paid less than Americans who get the same exact positions. No question about it. And also, they are treated a lot more poorly. But what I'm trying to get at is that pop culture, in this case, is right. That no one should become an engineer because it's a thankless, horrible job that requires you to go through hell, and then you get it, and you're in this boring job that you hate. So you shouldn't do it.
I don't know. I've seen
a rapper. Really,
I have met plenty of nerds in my time of exposure to this gaming company. There are people that actually enjoy it, so that's not entirely true. There are people that enjoy it, and because it's mostly like they're trying to solve a puzzle, is what they explained to me. Like, because my brain doesn't work that way, so I picked the brain of the people that do these jobs. And they told me that they had told me that it was more like they're trying to solve a problem, and it's problem solving by coding. I don't know jack shit about coding, right? Like, I know zero about coding. And when I look at the screen and I see like characters and letters and forward slashes and brackets, that means nothing to me. But for them, it's like they're speaking this whole different language and dialect. Just like when I try to talk to any of those tech guys about the stuff I'm into, like geopolitics, like their eyes glaze over and it means nothing to them about, what I'm talking about. So for a lot of those people, there are plenty of engineers that I met at that gaming company that really loved what they do and were passionate about it. So, but maybe because it was a fun gaming company, I don't know, they're not making, software for Bill Gates, I guess, could be a different environment. But that particular environment is what I was exposed to. And I saw people that were very passionate from all around the world, people from Europe with H-1Bs, people from India with H-1Bs, people from across Asia. And they were all like, like kind of these, I could see how growing up they would have been the nerd, right? But now they're young adults in their late 20s, early 30s, and they were like cool and fun and interesting people. And they were earning competitive salaries with whatever the median was at the time, 10, 15 years ago. So that's just what I've witnessed. I don't know more broadly across the entire, engineering world, what that income looks like, but that's what I saw on a gaming platform. And this was like 10, 12, 13 years ago.
So, but here's the thing. Both things can be right and wrong at the same time. Do we have a cultural issue, a cultural problem in this country? Yeah, the culture is falling apart. We need to make marriage cool again. We need to start telling men, young men, young women, hey, it's not about your body count. It's about finding someone that you love, who you're able to marry, who you're able to make a commitment to. Let that woman know, hey, it's a good thing to take your husband's last name. Let the husband know, hey, it's your responsibility to take care of your wife and your kids. That's the important thing. That if you want to be cool in my book, that's how you do. I don't care what job is that you have. If you do that, you're cool. The other thing is, like me and Ted talked about this yesterday. If you give your word, you follow through. I'm sick as a dog. I'm here because I made a commitment.
By the way, Ted and I said Robbie needs
for
to
being
sleep.
here today with COVID.
Oh, 100%. But that's the way that my brain is built.
But that's your ethic. That's your
exactly, and that's the culture
that
we should have.
And that is not the ethic that is pushed in America anymore.
Correct.
There's a culture of expectation.
Correct.
The
and you know what?
Culture. There's the culture
right there
has
with
been
you. But you know what? Doesn't fix it? Importing the third world doesn't fix that problem. What that does is that screws working class people.
But that's different. Importing the
BS.
third world is very different than importing
the hell it
the
is.
H-1B. Are you crazy?
Yes,
These people
I am.
are highly skilled and highly educated doctors
who are taking jobs from Americans.
Who are not that part, sure. But to say that they're not
Manila,
the people outside the Roosevelt Hotel that are asking for, these Joe Biden.
Yeah, but Manila, these are like, if anything, Manila, if anything, I mean, we can't really separate these two issues because they're kind of the same. But let's just say we do. I think I would rather have foreigners poach low-paid, shitty jobs than have foreigners poach our best jobs that, like, our best and brightest, most well-educated people who are going to earn the top salaries and can pay the most taxes. And those are the jobs we really should not lose. I mean, sure. As far as I'm concerned, if there's one unemployed or underemployed person in the United States who wants a job, you don't go looking outside. You don't. I don't care if that person has to be retrained. They're an American. I mean, the American person has to be, you hire the American first. Now, if you're completely out of Americans and you can prove that.
But that's idealistic, Ted. You're talking. No. Hold on. Hear me out. I'm not disagreeing with you saying that we should do that first. But the problem is we don't have that pipeline right now. Yeah, we live today.
What do you mean? Like literally, there is not one company in Silicon Valley that does not have a database completely full of applications and resumes from Americans they're choosing not to get back to.
No. What I'm saying is you're saying these underemployed Americans that need to be perhaps retrained or brought up to speed with whatever.
They don't need anything. They just need a fucking job.
Look, do you remember when in the first Trump administration, when Ivanka Trump, his daughter, made this like asinine comment about like, yeah, like when people get laid off that, oh, you can take this time to, maybe learn a new hobby, learn a new craft, learn a new trade.
While you're
And she
starving.
said it just right. And she,
Stupid.
because she's so out of touch about it, right? Because she was born to a billionaire. Like she had no idea. It was a very glib statement on her part.
Mm-hmm.
But if you focus on that part, we don't have the infrastructure in place to train people for new jobs. Let's say it's green jobs or tech jobs or whatever, we don't have this.
Well, what do you mean you don't have an
capitalist
infrastructure? I mean,
No,
that's
we
like
don't have
that's
the
not even
infrastructure.
okay. So that's just
People that are out of work.
that's
We
not,
Where
can
did
build
they go,
nuclear
Ted?
power
If-
plants right now, except for the EPA.
that's
If
a
you're
choice.
let's say you're a 40-year-old person that wants to change careers,
Yeah.
how easy is it for you to sure there are options to go back to school and there are methods to do that, but they're not fucking easy to do. We don't have that's what I mean by infrastructure. Whereas if you look at non-capitalist societies like say China, they have programs that will teach you new skills, right? To do something.
Well, China's a hybrid socialist capitalist society.
So that's what I'm saying is to Ivanka's point, like I get what she's trying to say. She meant well. It just came off kind of glib.
Yeah, but let me say,
she's
look, I agree
Ivanka
with
Trump.
you. My new book, What's Left, talks about the need for jobs retraining programs financed by the federal government. I think basically if you want to go back to school, and whether you go to trade school or go to community college or even go for a 4-year degree, and because you need to retrain, that should be covered by the federal government. Like send the Ukrainians a little less money, it'll be fine. But at the same time,
imagine that.
I'm old enough to remember that 50 years ago and more, lots of employers were willing to train you when they hired you. They would hire smart people and hardworking people, and they would train them.
Sure.
And like now, even like it's so crazy that new employers will not even, they want people who are completely, fully experienced to the T in every detail of the jobs that they're hiring for. The federal government can say, look, you don't have to train any Americans to do these jobs, but you're certainly not, you don't get to hire from overseas until you've tried to train some people, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if there is one unemployed American who is not completely an idiot and incapable of being retrained, that person has to be retrained. They have to be given that shot before you can start to look overseas. I mean, that's obvious. You don't bring in people from another country when your own people are suffering.
Well, like I said, our government hates us, and one of the things,
I agree.
the hospital that I work for is, we had this big powwow. It's probably about 2 years ago now, where they're talking about what can we do to make working here better. Because they're running out of, they didn't have enough nurses, for example, and they didn't have enough EMTs working in the emergency room. Well, I had this crazy idea because, again, I read a lot. To be a nurse, you don't have to go to this 2 years of school and get $100,000. You can do what's called challenging the board. So what challenging the board is, you go in, basically get on-the-job training. You work in the ER as an ER tech, learn what you need to do. And then once you get to a certain level, you then can take the state test. If you pass the test, congratulations, you're now an RN or a paramedic. And so you're able to get the actual on-the-job training without the debt. They won't do it because of regulations.
Well,
so to say that
part of infrastructure problems.
Well, that's part of the culture problem, and that's where Vivek is completely missing the boat here. This isn't about Kim Kardashian and jocks. You're always going to have whores. You're always going to have jocks. It is what it is. That's just a fact of life, okay? However, what this is that this is trying to placate the people who benefit from cheap labor. Because most of the people who come here for H-1B visas, they're not engineers or doctors. They are coming here and
they're coders.
They're coders and things like that. So what my whole thing is, I want all perfect in my world. All immigration would end for like 100 years. Every freaking bit of it, everything. and then we just rebuild our country. Is that going to happen? No, but it should.
Yeah, we couldn't stop all immigration. That's for 100 years. I mean, it's one thing to
I don't
put
think that would
caps
be a good
on it.
idea. Yeah.
I think that'd be a bad idea to stop all immigration.
I don't know. Let's try it and see what happens.
Maybe if there were caps on it, like there were like in the 70s, like when my family came during the
Sure.
era.
I'll give you 10,000 people a year. There you go.
I don't know. I mean, our birth rates are plummeting from.
Well, that's because of
this or that or
abortion
whatever.
and sterilizing kids and making them transgender. If we stop doing that, we all of a sudden we start having these things called babies. It's crazy. If you stop killing them in the womb, guess what happens? You have a new workforce. Imagine that.
Yeah, a new workforce that wants to be a rapper or NBA star or.
Some of them will, but guess what? Most of them are not going to. So they have to get this thing called a job in order to support themselves.
I think Vivek has a point. I think it's just that like he's missing the big point, which is he's a capitalist. He's a billionaire, so he should know something about economic incentives. And you're not going to get people to do what you want if you don't provide them with an economic incentive in a capitalist society. It's not like you mentioned drawing cartoons. Drawing cartoons is fun, so people do it even though it doesn't really pay much anymore. Frankly, coding's not that much fun for most people. So, and most of it is it's grunt work. It's boring. So you're just trying to get people who are smart enough to be good at math and science to do something that is kind of dull. So you've got to pay them before they like jump off a bridge.
Well, the thing is, AI is going to start replacing coders.
Well, that's true.
It's already happening. So
that's totally true. Problem solved.
I mean, the H-1B thing is not like a major concern for me. I don't know how much abuse. It's not my area of expertise.
Oh, it's totally rampantly abused. It's insane.
But I personally understood what Vivek was saying on the cultural aspect of this, but what he's being attacked for it, and I think unfairly, but he forgets that he comes from an Asian background and that he has, because his parents are the immigrants, right? Just like my parents were the immigrants. And there are sets of cultural values at home as well as sets of cultural values outside of the home. And he is like me. It was dual culture, and we benefited from that. Vivek, obviously, being a billionaire, has benefited a ton more.
Well, I'm pretty sure he came from a rich family too. So
I think his mom, somebody was a doctor and somebody was, I don't know. So like, yeah, I don't know if they're loaded, but yeah, they were more well-to-do than my family, obviously. But having the immigrant culture, the immigrant background at home, and the American culture outside, I think worked to his benefit because he was able to grasp, pop culture, American culture, and be fully integrated into American culture, as well as understanding the core values of, what was back then taught by your Asian immigrant parents. I don't know if that still happens today. I don't know how much that's changed. But I know there's definitely quite a streak of Asian tiger mom in me, even though I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Like I've never even been to Laos or China. But there is still that very strong streak of Asian tiger mom in me to my 6-year-old. And, am I maybe more balanced about it than my grandparents were or my parents? Probably. Am I a little cooler, more understanding of stuff? Probably. But I think the values are set by your family first. And the problem, to Robbie's point earlier, is that there is a major breakdown in the American family structure to begin with. So if you want to fix all ills in society, start at home. That's my take.
I agree. And this is the last thing I say because I know that we're going over. Vivek sounds kind of like a Roman patrician after the Third Punic War. Just like, we have all these farmers. They're working. Well, most Americans don't. And that's the problem. Don't talk about the culture. Get some smarts. Read a book. So basically, back then, the whole system was that to serve in the Roman army, you had to be a landed citizen. Well, the problem is that means that you had to have these things called farms, and that means you had to pay them. And the Roman elite didn't like that. So after the Third Punic War, they brought in hundreds of thousands of Carthaginian slaves, destroyed the Roman middle class to the point when the Germans came in, the Romans didn't have enough men legally to fill out the ranks of the army. That's what's happening here. And that's why, like 400 years later, when Rome fell, the average Roman citizen is like, thank God this nightmare is finally over. I don't want that to happen to my kids or my grandkids. I don't want them to be like, oh, thank God this thing is finally burning down, because that's what's going to happen. If you have societal problems, that's great, but you don't put a Band-Aid over that gaping wound by importing people to enrich some rich schmuck over in California. Screw that guy. Fix your problems at home, address the problem, and get rid of the damn Band-Aid.
I say fix it at home, and then America at home.
I agree.
But
you know,
fix it under your damn roof first.
Listen to me, kids. Don't let your children become engineers.
Oh my God, Ted!
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a shitty life. Don't do it.
Ted, is Homer Simpson, is he an engineer? I know he works in the nuclear power plant, but is he an engineer?
Right, we never fully understood.
Well, he's that's a good question. I don't really know. We don't know.
Right, no, they never really define.
They never talk about his education, right? I don't think
they never fully define what Homer's position is.
He works at the nuke plant, but we don't
know.
No,
we know that, but not his job position.
No.
Ever. In the what did it run? 30,
kind of a vague
years?
Term, you know.
Well, there are maintenance engineers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Close the borders, make America great again.
Engineer.
That's my platform.
Close the borders, including legal immigration with H-1B is producer Robbie's position. I'm kind of like give and take on the H-1B thing. I'm more about fix your shit at home, get your kids in order, get your family in order, and you will fix the ills of this country and society once you get your children back in order. I'm not saying beat your kids. I'm saying just be in touch with your kids. I'm not a pro at parenting. I have 6 fucking years of experience. Like I don't know everything there is to know, but I can reflect on how I was raised and, the differences in my white friends, my Mexican friends, my black friends. And we would talk about our parents growing up, right? Like, oh, I did this, and my grandma got the shoe and just whooped my ass, and I would talk to, all my it was like the UN growing up in California, right? Like you got friends of every color. You got Arab friends, you got black friends, you got Latino friends, you got every kind of friend. And we would all compare notes about how our parents or families punished us when we did something bad, right? Like if I was doing some bullshit down the street, my grandpa would come marching down to the end of the street, come find me and drag my ass back in front of everybody by my ear, embarrass the shit out of me.
My grandmother spanked me with the flat end of a butcher knife.
Oof.
And, there would be a switch waiting for me at home. And I'm not saying you should beat the shit out of kids, but
you're kind of saying that.
But I'm not against whooping them a little bit. Don't beat them. Don't beat them. But I'm not against a paddle. And I think we are largely lacking that. And that's why kids these days are wildly out of line, wildly expectant, wildly disrespectful. And maybe that's the Asian fob in me coming out. But that's what I see in the differences in how my friends, my round eye friends were raised versus my slanty eye friends, because we had all that in common. Just saying.
All right.
Growing up in the South, you learn real quick. You develop a very strong fear of your father, because you'd rather go to jail than get home and have to explain to your dad what you did wrong. So there's that.
Well, I'm going to put this email thing. I know we got to wrap up. We still have this email open. So if you guys dare ever, please email questions to TMI
I keep checking.
Show
Nobody sends anything.
Question.
Yeah.
Like, I think people are shy, Ted. They might like type an email, but they don't want to like
You can send something anonymous. Doesn't have to be under your name. You send it under like a fake name.
Hey, y'all let me
Carlos
talk here,
Danger.
and that's terrifying. So
email your questions, your thoughts, your whatever, comments, questions. If you want your audio to appear on the show, right there, send it to that email, record an audio.
TMI Show question at Yahoo. TMI Show question.
You don't even have to say your name or real identity if you don't want to.
No.
But we will play your question and attempt to answer it. We aim to do this on Fridays. So if anybody sends stuff, reminder, please do. Please send it there. Yeah, so that's going to do it. Robbie, please go. The COVID conservative producer.
Oh my
please,
God. With 104-degree fever yesterday.
Go fucking rest.
Yeah.
Believe me, I get it. Like I'm still, midday. I'm like dozing off from the immunosuppressants. Like my energy levels goes and I crash. And I've learned not to push myself. And I get your work ethic and I appreciate all of that. But
me too.
But dude.
Listen, Robbie, go.
Dude,
go.
You're sick. So thank you for weighing in on this. I know you wanted to because this is like a topic you're passionate about, and especially about getting rid of everybody that's not, native here.
Well, I mean, if you're here legally, I mean, by all means, stay. It's just no new arrivals. Stay the hell out. Fortress America. Put the army on the border. Put the Navy on
the economy will circle down the drain. This will turn you into a lefty. I got to tell you,
Ted, the economy's already circling down the drain. The economy already sucks. It's already in the trash can.
You want closed borders, you got to have socialism. It's the only way you can have an economic model that moves forward.
That's true, right?
Capitalism and
you have to close the loop.
It's really true. You would. So if you want that, Fortress
I would
America,
outlaw corporations.
We got to go Rall style socialist.
Hey, you know what? I'm willing to give it a shot. So like I told Manila at the start of the show, I want a federal government that's so small I can drown it in a toilet. I want regulation pretty much all gone. I want a free market system where all the states compete against each other.
Okay, and that's all capitalism.
But let's just
that's not socialism.
Well, here's the thing: whatever the government gives, the government can take away. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, no.
Go get some rest. That's our bottom line.
That's a topic for another day.
It is.
Thank you for weighing it. I know you wanted to because you're passionate about this. So even though it was against, I don't want the viewers to be like, Ted and Manila made producer Robbie work. No. He wanted to do this. We are insisting that he rests. So
I was up at 2 o'clock this morning working. So
go away, Robbie. Go get some rest. Thank you for weighing in. I'm removing you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Robbie. Have a good weekend.
All right. So that's going to do it for us. We went way over. Reminder again, please hit that subscribe button if you are on YouTube and the follow or whatever it's called on the Rumble side. And please share this video, share our channel, tweet about us, whatever. Please spread the word about this show, the TMI Show, so we can continue to grow and hit our magic number markers that we need to hit on each platform, so that way we can become monetized and actually try to make a living from that. So outside of this, Ted, what are our plans next week? Next week is New Year's week, so we're only taking New Year's Day off?
That's right. So we will not be here on Wednesday, January 1st, 2025. We will be here Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday being New Year's Eve, December 31st, the last day of 2024. We will be back here on Thursday, January 2nd. 2025.
That's wild. We're just days away from the new year, a new Trump, the return of the Trump, and
true,
orange Jesus, and
Jesus.
And I'm just for me, honestly, I'm just freaking ready to say goodbye to 2024 because I insist 2024 tried to kill me, and Joe Biden was the harbinger of doom for my health. Like, it just, of all things bad in my health, it was Joe Biden. I'm just saying.
All right.
I'm not saying Trump is going to be better, but I'm just pointing out that Joe Biden.
By the way, Trump's looking a little Biden-y. He's looking a little old these days. Yeah, last week or two. Yeah.
Really?
He's got that
Oh,
look.
I don't know.
He's got the eyes, the Biden eyes, that sort of like.
Well, he's
It's not quite there
78.
yet. Yeah, he's fucking old.
So he's old. And then we got Ozempic Musk.
Right.
Oh, I think he's on Mounjaro, he said.
That's right. He's on Mounjaro.
Yeah. So we've got, maybe 2025 is a better year for everyone except Donald Trump health-wise, because he's at that tipping point of age.
Perhaps so.
All right. That's going to do it. Have a great, wonderful weekend, everybody. Thank you for watching. We will be back on Monday and Tuesday, not Wednesday, and back Thursday and Friday of 2025. So we'll see you, on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you Monday. Good weekend. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Bye.